ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ? 25 ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಸಿಲ್ವರ್ ಜೂಬಿಲಿ ಆಯಿತು ರೀ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ಲಾಪ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ತಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಮಧುಕರ್ ಅವರು 1999ನಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಕನಸು ಇಟ್ಟರು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಮಗು ಶಾಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಒಳ್ಳೆಯಾಗಿ ಓದಬೇಕು, ಮತ್ತು 3 ವರ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದು ಜಟ್ಪಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡೋಣ ಅಂತ. ಆವಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಆಯುಷ್ಯನಲ್ಲಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಸರಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಚಕ್ ಅಂತ ಹ್ಞೂ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯಿತು ಅದು ಏನಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. But my God, it's been such a fantastic journey for Akshara Foundation. 25 years, I simply cannot believe it. In 1999, actually we must acknowledge Pratham, the network Pratham. We are born out of the Pratham network. When Rukmini, Madhav and others wanted to spread the work all across the country, Madhukar was part of the original team, and they decided to bring it to Karnataka. Actually, it was the other way around almost. Karnataka wanted to bring Pratham to the state. It was Upendra Tripathi ji, and I'm so glad he gave us the address, who wanted to create this from the government side, which was the first real victory of Akshara, that there were states that wanted to participate with a civil society organization to create a public movement for improving education. And that itself, I think, is a great birth for Akshara. In our great wisdom, we said we don't want to be called Pratham Karnataka. We will be different. So we called ourselves Akshara Foundation, which served us well also. And, even if we had called ourselves Pratham, the work would have remained the same. We share the logo, which is a slightly strange, old-fashioned logo, but it's beloved to us all. I want to call out Mr. Vaghul, who had enough things to do, but agreed to be our chairman. And after the first 2 years, he said, now, okay, Rohini, now enough. Now it's time for you to take over. And very graciously handed over his reins and said, do well. So that was his guidance, and we always appreciate his mentorship for that. I do want to say that when Madhukar said, he came like a salesman to my house, like a briefcase, and with shiny things inside his briefcase, saying, all children in school and learning well in 3 years. And he said, definitely, why not? I got all my friends. They also became volunteers. His parents became volunteers. He will talk about it, I hope. But his parents were doing the accounts. It was a family affair, and nobody was getting paid anything at all. But we were all so happy and so busy learning the ropes. In the beginning, we didn't know what to do, I think, even though Pratham had a history of experimentation. So it was a lot of experimentation. A lot of people quickly joined. Kanchan was there. Dhrin, of course, was a co-conspirator in being the first trustee. We'll all be talking on the stage. I won't take too much time. I think what I want to say is 2 things. In my 35 years in the social sector, actually it was Akshara that gave me the real first opportunity to not dirty my hands, but to put my hands in the soil of social change. And I had started Nagarik in 1992, but we were spectacularly unsuccessful at it. So Akshara Foundation was actually my first attempt at being successful in helping to create positive social change because of all the people who were involved. And I realized over these 35 years that social change that is sustainable genuinely takes time. It takes 15 to 20 years for a seed put in the soil to actually become a tree that bears fruit sustainably. It requires a very clear vision, which Akshara had. It requires a phenomenal founders. I'm not counting myself, but I'll call out Madhukar and Pratham for that, and Mr. Vaghul and Mr. Upendra Tripathi. And then and the ability to attract committed people. And so many of us joined and demonstrated our commitment to the cause. It needs that. It needs very high moral leadership. And we had that in droves from the beginning, right from the bottom to the top, and it was a fairly flat organization. There was a deep passion, deep commitment, and deep ethical sense of the kind of social transformation we need. It requires tremendous patience. It requires the ability to fail and get up again, get up again, get up again. We'll talk about some of our spectacular failures in Akshara. And it requires all those things. And then it requires the people who are doing this societal mission to also understand what is the real demand out there. It is no use me deciding what is good for people if the people are not ready for that change. We started, the Pratham, etc., is now 30 years, started when India's young parents had become highly aspirational for their children's education. Before that, they thought the children will work on farms. What is the point spending 14 years in education? By the time we all came onto the scene, we helped to build the demand, but there was a huge demand for education. What all the parents were willing to do for their children to learn well, because they could finally see light at the end of the education tunnel, that there would be jobs, there would be this, there would be prosperity for their children. That is the wave we caught, because it was a wave of social demand. And it's always important to understand that demand or to build the demand, the social demand of the Samaj. Otherwise, all the work for social change does not get rooted in the soil. And I think Akshara's work, you saw what Ashok said, our beloved chairman, how much work has gone into it, how much thinking. Susie is here, she's been part of the journey as well. A lot of people, you know who you are in this room. That's how much it takes to create social change. In today's day, and this is my last point, Gautam is here, Gautam John, who developed all the Karnataka Learning Partnership. Many of us are also involved in Pratham Books, which is a success story of its own. I won't go into Pratham Books on Akshara Foundation's Celebration Day. We'll do that separately. But all of it came because of all these things, the passion, the commitment, the ethical leadership, the demand on the ground, the support from the government, all the directors of public instruction. I'm going to call out Vijay Bhaskar today. So many of them supported Akshara Foundation's work. And without government support, it's not very easy to scale anything in this country to the population level, to the level of the challenge. So I really call out the Karnataka government and all the education department officers who were such great partners to Akshara Foundation. Without Ashok Kamath, of course, I doubt any of this would have reached this stage. In 2003, he came to Nandan. He was in IIT with Nandan and said, I want to do something more meaningful. He was the chairman of Analog and he wanted to do something more meaningful, which is great. And he wanted to do something else. You didn't say that. He wanted to work for old people. By the way, I'm starting a longevity thing. You want to shift out anytime? Come this side. So he said he wants to do something in longevity. Nandan was talking to me, do you have anything? I said, no, but we need someone in Akshara. And he said, see, whatever he wants, you just grab him first. After that, you convince him what it is. He said, first you grab him. He's a wonderful human being. You just grab him. So we grabbed him. We still have the bill, I think, from Taj. You can pay it back. So thanks to Ashok Kamath, everything happened. My work became easier. Madhukar was able to go away and do other marvelous things. And Ashok held the fort solidly through all these years. So once again, let's clap for Ashok. And really my very last point, 25 years seems like a long time. Sometimes you get tired. But you know why I don't think you should be all tired? All of you are still working in Akshara Foundation. This is the time to catch. I wrote an article recently. This year's Asar has been among the most hopeful Asars in the 20 years of the Asar report, which we were all part of in 2005. We all supported the first Asar report in 2005. In 20 years, Rukmini and I used to cry every time the Asar report was releasing. Ayo, when will this happen? This year, we both were celebrating because we really see a positive trend. This is the first generation of Indian parents who are really educated way beyond class 5 and 10, and they are very sure, especially the mothers, that their children must learn well. And when you have the support of parents, your work will be halved. So this is the time to re-energize yourself. There is work to do because of the digital revolution. Our children, every one of them, has to be enabled for the digital era, not just for paper and pen anymore. And it is our job now to reimagine what their learnability journey will be. Ashok and all of you have been constantly innovating. This is the next challenge. How will you equip young children, whether it's math or language or anything else, to have a strong foundational self-learning capability in an age where everything is constantly changing. So it's exciting to think about Akshara's next journey in that way. I'll close with that because we're going to tell you some fun stuff from the stage. Thank you all for being a part of Akshara Foundation. Dhanyawad, namaskara.
Thanks, Rohini. If you can just sit down there. Madhukar, can you come up and Dhrin? There are a bunch of pictures from our archives that I want you guys to react to. Anywhere. Rohini, the first one is probably for you.
Okay. What? Oh. Oh God, that's so old.
Huh? This is from 2003.
Yeah, so we had created, I think it was in...
2003.
No, it was this DJ Halli school, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a DJ Halli school. That school was amazing. There were 2,000 students. And every time we went there, it was like a celebration because there was so much noise and excitement and so many girls. It was great fun to go to DJ Halli. So we had asked Vaida ji to come and just celebrate our program, and she was very gracious to come. And as you can see, she's having a great time. I don't remember much more than that. Was I supposed to?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. But what can we say? Gata rahe mera dil.
Okay, this one you should remember, right?
Yeah. I mean, the picture is obvious, no?
That's S.M. Krishna, yeah.
Mr. S.M. Krishna was also a great
He was
supporter.
the chief guest of one of our annual days.
Yeah, he came for our annual day. At that time, we used to try and get really important people, and luckily they would come.
Important people.
We still, I'm sure. You are here.
You are here.
Yeah.
Justice Hegde is here. So.
Santosh Hegde ji is here. So I think people understood that what we were doing at Akshara was socially important. The politicians used to be very, very much in favor. We had great fun. Madhukar, you should
there,
tell.
Right? Madhukar, you.
Our first event was at this St. Joseph School.
Yeah.
We had about 5,000 people, mostly parents from all the Balwadis who had come.
Yeah.
And S.M. Krishna was the chief guest. And I
Oh,
think
he came very late. And I was singing Krishnani Begane Baro. I remember he came very late. Now I remember. Yeah.
But I think while we celebrate the chief minister and the participation, I think what excited us at the time was the participation of the communities, right? Because they were the lifeblood of everything that we were doing, and they found an opportunity to celebrate and express their own. And all the volunteers who also came were from communities, and that was the joy of all of what we were doing. So it's super exciting to see all of this.
I just remember the whole scene. Take your mic, Dhiren.
Yeah, this was, you see, when we, the whole concept of Pratham and Akshara Foundation was really on three premises. The first premise was that we really didn't have a formal pre-primary education system in our country, especially, for the poor. And if you saw when children came into first grade and their learning development skills were not as good as those who went to private pre-primary education systems, there was a huge gap. So I think Mr. Vagul's vision about pre-primary education and then the bridge learning, there were lots of kids who could not go to school because of, transient labor and all that. So bringing them back to school was also the second concept, and also the Bal Sakhi program, as it was coined, when Madhukar and Madhav Chavanji and all the others were involved. So what fascinated me was this whole pre-primary education system thing. And when we used to go to the slums of Bangalore, and we would ask the parents to, put your children into the Anganwadis to get involved in the pre-primary education part, they would say, no, we know how to teach our children. Why should we, bring our children? And, there were all kinds of people in the slums. But this particular program, I remember this hugely because the number of parents who came with their children, and when they spoke to us, we can see the difference in our child now. That, I think, is the biggest impact in my way of, while we have gone further away from, the initial concepts and become stronger in the whole maths and English learning abilities. But I think that social change came from, that program. And when parents saw that their children, and then they wanted to put their children into private schools to study, to get better education.
Yeah, just a quick point on the Balwadis. I mean, at one point we were running so many we didn't even know. But Madhukar, remember how one of the positive unintended consequences of the Balwadis were how many women were able to come out of their houses to get a sort of a job. We didn't pay very much, but it was almost like voluntary work. But especially in some of the Muslim communities, the young women who started Balwadis, it was their first exposure to a sort of bazaar-like situation. And I believe many of them went on then to have more confidence to go outside into the world. I do remember that very well.
Okay, this is another one.
Mr. Ramalinga Reddy.
Yeah.
Ashok was chubbier in those days.
Serious makeup.
We were releasing something. What was that? Do you remember? You should have sent this. You sent this earlier. I should have done my homework. Well, just more of that. We kept on, I must say, we kept on trying to involve local politicians and their constituencies from the beginning. That Samaj Sarkar Bazaar we took very seriously. That time I had not used that phrase,
Yeah.
but we used to call it public-private
Private
partnership.
partnership.
But the very first meeting you had was with corporate sector people. Some 26 people came from the corporate sector to some five-star hotel again. What? The park. Okay, he remembers all this. He must have paid the bill, he remembers. So they all came, Mr. Vaghul came, and they immediately got it. And some of them did start to support us. And I'm so happy that, Ashok, that you're saying that many of them continue to support
Absolutely.
Akshara Foundation over time. That's fantastic.
Do you remember this, guys? This was
I
our
mean, I remember
newsletter.
the newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reading City, yeah. So many
Right?
things.
So this was, this is just a
No,
newsletter
we
we
had
had.
a newsletter called Akshara Vahini, yeah.
And then I'll show you one more picture, and actually, this is one.
That looks like a IIT
that-
Friends and Family
Yeah,
photograph.
that was an IIT picture. So, this was an important milestone for us. I think Mr. Chandrasekhar is here. He was the director for primary instruction.
Yeah. Mr. Vijay Bhaskar.
Vijay
Mr.
Bhaskar, yourself,
Atik.
Mr.
Yeah.
Atik on the
Yeah,
right.
Atik was there. And wow, amazing.
So this was a landmark program when we did all the schools in Bangalore for a reading program with 70,000 children using technology for the first time. So this was the program that we talk about. So that's it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No, I'm just deeply grateful for having the opportunity to celebrate these 25 years with this incredible group. Mr. Vijay Bhaskar, of course, came in after Mr. Tripathi. But Mr. Tripathi's energy and enthusiasm was quite visible because he came to Mumbai to meet us in Pratham and then sent senior officials from the government of Karnataka to come and follow through. Because when, somebody from senior government comes and says, I want to start something, you think maybe they're serious, but then he followed up immediately within a few weeks. Then they came back and gave a report to the government saying, this is important to do, we need to partner, we need to open up. And so his promise was, we will open up the government schools in Bangalore. And it was at the time a Bangalore initiative. And then he said, you mobilize civil society and get local corporations to support this initiative. That was the tripartite arrangement that was conceived of. And just the commitment that he brought in and many senior government officials brought in at that time made a dramatic difference. And of course, Rohini jokingly said about the first meeting we had, and without the commitment that Rohini herself made to the cause and the energy she put in to make this happen, we wouldn't be here today. Drin and absolutely no doubt. Absolutely no doubt.
No,
Because
I think Madhukar is very right. You need strong roots to build a strong tree, and then the branches, and then it's like a banyan tree that keeps growing. So I don't think we would have gone very far if. And I'll tell you a bit about money aspects in those days.
Um, and so, and we have many old colleagues here, Kanchan, Vijay, so many, it's very hard to name. But I think the energy and the integrity with which we approach this, right, and the intention, it's a sankalp bolte hain, so that's sankalpa, was really what has, I think, brought all of us over this journey. And I want to say before I end, Ashok Kamath has been an incredible, leader for Akshara. I would go to say that, but for Ashok Kamath, Akshara would probably not be here today, right? So absolutely grateful to all of the work you've done, Ashok, and huge gratitude to this whole group here and many who are not here today for bringing this journey to where we are, and hopefully to the next 25, Ashok, and your leadership too. So thank you so much.
So, it's not much of nostalgia, but it's more about how organizations keep moving forward. And in my younger days, when, I used to watch companies grow or see very large corporations like Infosys and many others, a wise man told me that, Drin, if you want to do whatever you want to do in life, make sure you pick the right people to run your organizations or whatever you get into. And whether it happened by serendipity or whether Madhukar designed to bring people in, he brought in the right guys when he came to Bangalore. Because I met Madhukar in Bombay, I think in 1999. We were doing some fundraising for Pratham that time. And, we all, it was fun times. I don't know how much of fun we had. It's very difficult to explain all that. Carrying, furniture and bringing it to this Kamraj school out here, and then sitting there, and then literally going looking for coffee. And there were times, we had to even steal some paper from the school because we didn't have all that stuff. Computers came from my office, all junked up. I don't think they ever worked. And I remember we tried to even build some games, initial, focus, and Madhukar and I sitting there in those character-based kind of, games that we were trying to develop. But the point I want to make is that organizations, somebody said that if you want to make an organization last and grow, then keep on looking for people who can make them last and grow. And I think between Madhukar and Rohini to bringing in individuals like Ashok, also the kind of dedication and commitment Kanchan has shown, Suzanne, and so many others, Rekha, one of our, the true style of what I would call corporate leadership involved in social change is a great example of Akshara. And if anybody wants to emulate this in service, because mostly what happens is in service organizations, it's very personality driven. Now to take a back step and say, hey, I am there, but I didn't do it. Everybody did it. So each one of you there at the back, it's each one of yours hard work and each one of you contributing, but the show must go on. Mera naam Joker approach. Bhai, abhi to abhi baki hai. For that, we have to continuously keep developing new leaders. We have to continuously look at, new thoughts. Now with this AI buzz, stick to the basics, because I think the basics work the best. Whatever we do, we should go back to the basics and make those work. I think each one of you have done a phenomenal job. I'm truly lucky to have been a part of this organization, working with Madhukar, Rohini, of course, and Ashok ji, who's a legend of what he has done for Akshara Foundation. Thank you.
Before we leave, Rekhu, I didn't call out Rekha, but in both Akshara and Pratham books, she has really done a lot of strategic leadership. Thank you, Rekha. Last thing, to the children of Karnataka, for whose sake we are doing all this, right? They deserve everything we do for them. Yay to the children of Karnataka.
Thank you, Rohini, Drin, and Madhukar, for sharing your memories and stories with us. Gives us an idea of how it was in the initial years. I'd like Ashok to give a token of our appreciation.
So may I now request Mr. Baligar to come up? Susie, you as well. Kanchan and Rekha. Just a couple of minutes for each one of you to tell us what was interesting in your journey at Akshara. 2 minutes each.
2 minutes is a long time.
No, 2 minutes is
No
okay.
photographs. You told us it was going to be fun.
Okay, who's going to start? Mr. Baligar, please.
You should start.
You can sit there. Aram se.
Is it good afternoon or good morning?
It is
Because
probably afternoon.
I was held up in the traffic for more than half an hour. Good morning to everybody. Mr. Madhukar was mentioning my friends' names, Mr. Upendra Tripathi and Vijay Bhaskar. Both are very good friends of mine, especially Upendra Tripathi, who was my batchmate. Just now also he spoke, whether I just reached or not. He's monitoring my movement also. I succeeded Mr. Vijay Bhaskar. That time, Ashok Kamath from IIT Bombay, I'm also from IIT Bombay, Rohini and others met me. Ashok was not there. Madhukar was there. We had a good interaction, and Mr. Upendra Tripathi had already told me what Akshara has been doing. I was so happy to be involved in Akshara's initial years. And later on, I was forced into the trust. I became a trustee after my retirement. Till then, I could not accept anything. And I have seen how, even in the last 1 decade, it has reached heights unimaginable by any other NGO. I think you are operating in 3 states. Almost all the districts and taluks of Karnataka have been covered. What is important is that giving thrust to mathematics, which is very important life skill for children when they grow up. And another important aspect is the way they have involved Gram Panchayats into the activities. According to the Constitutional Amendment and State Government Act, the education is primary and secondary education is supposed to be part of the Panchayat system, Panchayat Raj institutions. Unfortunately, the MLAs and others don't like it. But Karnataka government did delegate education to Jilla Panchayats and other institutions. However, Gram Panchayats were not involved so much, except when they have to do some work for the schools. But thanks to Akshara, they're completely involved in quality improvement of education at the grassroots level. That is one of the unique features. I don't think anywhere else in India it is happening. Therefore, I would like to congratulate all the workers and a team of Ashok Kamath for this unique feature. And another aspect that I really liked is, as per the ASER report, the reading minimum level achievements as well as mathematical abilities of children in 5th, 6th and 7th and even other classes is very poor. It's less than 40%. But here, it is some districts is 80%. And even in poorest of the districts in North Karnataka, Northeast Karnataka, it is above national average, maybe around 40, 42%. In some districts, 80%. So the quality aspect, involvement of people, community, and without any support from the government, especially in involving the committee and conducting these contests. my hats off to the team, Akshara, and I think I should stop at this. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I'm not going to do a long history. Name is Rekha Menon, and I got involved with Akshara early 2003, thanks to Rohini, where we were actually, I remember the early days on the, in that school on Kamaraj Road. No, Kamaraj Road, where we were manning phones, when we were doing phones. So we had put out a call for volunteers to come and read to our children and read to the community. And we had put numbers out, and then we realized that we had to be, who was going to respond to those numbers? Who was going to respond to those calls? Because there were the phone numbers given. So it was us who were sitting there, taking names and numbers down, asking how many hours anybody could commit, asking which area they could go in. So to me, that was a memory, the first memory of Akshara. Fast forward to many years later, and I just want to pick 2 or 3 stories that are important, and then what lessons I took from there, was when we did library in classrooms. We thought it was a logical next step of what we were doing with all the schools. So there has to be library in the classrooms. And I still remember as we rolled it out, the first school, at one of the schools we visited, and the library was locked up. And we asked, what is happening here? And they said, no, the books have been preserved as they are. You can't have the kids read them, or something similar like that. And we expected that after we did the first pilots, it would catch on like fire and take off in every government school. That was one of our spectacular failures. It didn't happen. We hadn't thought it through. We hadn't thought through how do we hand over. And at every offsite, we'd say, we have another 3 years. So Madhukar, you started with 3 years. We kept saying another 3 years and we are done. And then we're all out and we'd wind down Akshara. And my third memory is going to Koppal when we had started the maths programs and recognizing 2 things. One, the importance of involving community. We had just started at that time, and we realized that we can't do this on our own. We have to explain to the community why it's important for their children. We have to involve them, and we have to get them to pay for it. And we were looking for an innovative maths teacher at that time, right? We were wanting to give awards. We said we'll give things. So that was just random memories. But what I take from all that is a couple of lessons. One, that without the dedication, the long-term vision, and we've heard everybody say the integrity of what we were trying to do, we wouldn't have got so far. So thank you all so much who've carried that vision all this while. The second was that we pivoted. We had many more failures, and I can talk about the other failures, but we learned from our failures and pivoted very quickly and said, okay, we tried this, it didn't work for whatever the reasons, let's take our lessons and go. And that's the only way an organization gets built, learn from the failures and move on. And the third was the math program. Once we decided this is all we're going to do, the scale that happened, the involvement of the community that happened, the involvement of the government that happened, and to me, used to faster corporate quarter results, this was frustrating at times. And as other speakers have said, you can't build social change without a long-term view. So for me, that was a big lesson, that you have to stay the course, involve government, involve community, and have very dedicated people in order to build something so big and so long-term. So thank you so very much by what everybody is doing and continues to do. And I wish Akshara continued success, because we're going to have to pivot again, for sure. Thank you.
Just 1 minute. She was telling about how our libraries were kept closed and preserved, not to be given to the children. When I was CPI, I inspected 1 or 2 libraries, and I was wondering why they are doing so. And I asked the headmaster why. He was about to retire. He said, sir, when I retire, I have to give the count of all the books that were supplied. So my pension will not be sanctioned if I give the books to children and they will take it home or tear it. I felt so bad. Immediately I issued a circular saying that this particular aspect of books being torn by children or missing cannot be a reason at all. It will be written off by the CPI or DDPI, whoever has got the powers. After that, slowly they started reading. I hope they are reading, still reading it, but I don't know.
Thank you, Ashok. Um, it's a wonderful, I mean, I'm feeling so emotional now, actually, meeting all the people around here. And I've been here since 2000, actually. I'll tell you this first story of how I joined Akshara. But Ashok has given a fantastic recount of all the events and fantastic milestones in the career. Um, and lots of firsts, you know, working with the government, working with the community. It's just an amazing journey. But one thing I want to say is the day Madhukar came to meet me in the year 2000, probably it was June or May or June or something. And I had started my own NGO and I was working in government schools. Sanjay Kaul was the CPI then, and he had given me a very small, great grant of 24,000 rupees. And I was working in 4 government schools, teaching the primary school children how to read and do their maths. So Madhukar comes to my house, and it was not a meal at Taj, but a khichdi which I had made that day. That's what he had to eat. He tells me, "You're working in 4 schools? You should be working in 44,000 schools." And I was so happy today to hear that number from Ashok. Exactly 44,000 and odd. I am so very happy and so very proud of Akshara that it has reached every school in Karnataka besides the other 2 states. Having said that, a couple of things I'm very happy I was with Akshara for the duration that I was. One is I got an opportunity to go to different corners of Karnataka. I traveled quite a bit, including to give English training to teachers, 5-day English training to teachers in different parts of the state, especially North Karnataka. And it gave me such immense pleasure and joy to see the kind of involvement of the teachers and the hunger of the teachers wanting to learn different methods to teach the children English. It is still a struggle, and I know that the government has introduced English medium schools now in each district. And also equally going to the slums. We used to go during the Balwadi days to so many slums that now whenever anybody mentions any place, even I don't need to look at the Google map because I've been there before. And I've visited those Balwadis in the slums. So it has been, I should say thank you, Akshara, for that. And the second thing is the opportunity I got to create new teaching material. It was an excellent opportunity, and there was all kinds of encouragement, and we had a wonderful team, many of whom are still here, Nalini, Suman, all of them are still here. And it was, we experimented, we tried out on the ground, and the response was fantastic. So I'm really proud to say that it was a great pleasure being with Akshara. In the beginning, the program, learning program was all Jnana Jyoti. And this was the first little, very simple, unassuming newsletter which we used to send out, you know, like a black and white thing. Jnana Jyoti, Akshara Pratisthana Jnana Jyoti Karikrama. We used to give an update of and who had said what and some of the quotes and, you know, black and white photographs. So these are memories which I will really cherish, and I'm very proud to be associated with Akshara. Congratulations, Ashok. It is entirely that you have carried it on your shoulders. So all the very best for the next 25 years. Thank you.
So many stories. So I'm going to also share my introduction to Akshara's story, which has remained very vivid in my mind. So I had met Rohini through a friend, and she invited me to, I think, what was an Akshara board meeting in the Coxtown school, which was a room that Akshara had, maybe about 200, 300 square feet, and there was a train track behind. So every time the train would pass, we had to stop speaking, wait for the train to stop shaking the office, and then continue. Remember that school? So she invited, and I was just fresh off my corporate life, so I only knew the corporate world, and I knew very little, sadly, about the social sector at that point in time. And Rohini invited me. There was Drin, there was Madhukar, and there was Rohini. And they were, I think, talking about transit schools, if I remember correctly. I think they were looking at setting up transit schools in the market areas to kind of have children have some access to education, even if they were working. And there was this completely, energizing conversation that everyone just started to get more and more and more excited. And at some point, I remember Rohini standing on the chair and writing, writing on the board. But that was really my introduction into the social sector, into Akshara. I really couldn't have asked for something better because I learned so much from so many people. The one thing that has struck me about Akshara consistently, and I've been involved in 20 out of these 25 years, is how wonderfully Akshara has pivoted to the needs of the child. I think that is quite striking because over 25 years, many organizations can actually become old and redundant because you do the same thing over and over and over again without actually a focus on your beneficiary. So I've seen the Balwadi program, which was, I think, the largest, and it was, I can't describe when you walk into a low-income community area and you suddenly see these pockets of, really happy, kids and this volunteer and this whole buzz around that. That was, amazing. Then there was the libraries program, which again, I think was really the need of the hour. There was English, there was bridge schools. There were just so many things that Akshara did. And finally consolidating with a core skill for all children, especially in today's day and age where, you can't get far if you don't have a strong quantitative skill. I still feel Akshara should do some stuff on reading and books and English and language and all of that, which is the other core skill, for children. But more power to you, to Akshara, this feels like an alumni meeting. There's so many faces that I'm seeing here, which is so wonderful. But, really to the next 25 and to the children of Karnataka and children of India that we continue to serve. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all for taking us through this trip down the memory lane. These memories remind us how far we've come and the inspiring people that we've touched and we've come across in these past 25 years.